Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the Grind and Bag podcast. I'm your host, Aisha Ansa, and this is Career Tuesday. Wow, it's a whole new week. Oh my God. June is almost over. I almost said July because it's been going, and not stopping. But I cannot stress this enough of my thanks to all of you who have been following this channel since the very beginning. My channel has evolved since then because I'm an evolved individual, but I'm continuing to evolve. And also to all the new family members who are not house hunting anymore, but have planted roots with us on Rooted with Aisha. Thank you so much. Because in addition to the Resource Fridays, Career Tuesdays, Body Wisdoms, I feel like I'm forgetting something. The educational segments, as well as the break room, the different reactions that we're doing. But we're also going to be getting into some in-depth conversations on there too. So it's not just going to be just fun and games only. But I just want to thank all of you for joining and subscribing. Woo! We're growing, y'all, because the goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers. And then the goal is to hit 2,000 subscribers and to continue to grow and grow and grow, because that means that people are going to be blessed by this content, because I'm not doing this just to get up there in numbers. I mean, you have to have a goal, but my main goal is for you all to know that there's a informed and there's a fun way to look at life despite our circumstances. And hope is the greatest element that I'm always standing on, because hope still exists even in moments like this. That's my ending tagline of every single video. But I also just want all of you to know is that if you are following me on Instagram, TikTok, as well as Twitter, Rooted with Aisha is my name. So please go ahead and follow me on those platforms, and more to come. I have so much ideas for this channel. Have my tea. So if you have your tea, get your tea, because we're going to be having in-depth conversations. So we need to make sure that we're staying good. Echinacea is in here. Trying to keep my immune system up. You know what I'm saying? But let's get formal. Welcome to the Grind Bag podcast, and welcome to Career Tuesday again. I'm your host, Aisha Insa, and for our newcomers, if you haven't already planted roots with us, please go ahead and do so by subscribing to this YouTube channel, like, share, and comment on all of my videos, and share, because this lets the YouTube multiverse that you find value in the content that is being presented to you, but also that more and many more are able to be blessed by what is shared. And most importantly speaking, don't forget to listen to us on Spotify. Yes, the Grind and Bag podcast is on Spotify. This coming week, I am going to be publishing some new audios as well as more in-depth content that's going to be on there, because I find this as a unraveling, but it's also a journey. But I also want you all to know that we are here to help each other, support each other, and guide each other through this journey of life, but also with support, because it is not easy, but we also have to be willing to go on this journey. So just know that if you're getting there to being willing, right on. But if you're already on that journey, I'm here with you as well. So let's go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, but also subscribe to my Substack. Rooted with Aisha is also on there, but as well as a Ground and Bag podcast. So please go ahead and subscribe to that as well, so that way you never missed an update or latest conversations. So last week we talked about going all the way up, working your way up, entry level wisdom. Start small and more strategically, because you'll be surprised how fast you can go from here to there because of your determination, your overall ability to bring you, but also work ethic can never be duplicated or underrated. Even if they try, the lasting impression that you leave is your work ethic. But today we're going to be talking about the workplace experience space, unpacking work trauma and wins. Because work trauma, oh baby, work trauma is real. Because that is literally the hardest part because if you're someone like me who just wants to come and work, be supportive of others, be professional, trying to focus on the end goal versus the temporary, oh, it's a you problem, and oh, it's not my fault. Because I've had experiences in my work experiences where I've had to diffuse, I've had to mediate, but I've also had to throw my hands up like, hey, it is what it is. You're not signing my check. If me and you don't get along, we just don't get along. I got to focus on what I need to focus on and keep my job, and you do whatever you need to do. I've had to go in that headspace. I've had to reshape, shift myself, because there's always moments where you feel as if this person is trying me, this boss, this supervisor, this manager, this fellow peer is trying me when we should be on the same team on this relay race. So that can feel very inconveniencing, because you're already leaving your own personal woes outside. Coming into this space, you expect to have a different experience than what the world is giving you on the outside of the workspace. So we're going to get in touch with that. But let's get into our grounded questions. So I ask you, if you're on your break, if you are coming home from work, or if you're just, you know, joining, come hither. Let's talk and let's have a real grounded moment. Because the first question that we're going to really be talking about is, what workspace experience changed how I see myself? I would say my workplace experience, because I can only speak to myself. If you want to share your personal stories, you can always email me at askrootedwithaisha@gmail.com. Askrootedwithaisha@gmail.com. That is going to be located in the description box down below. But if you feel compelled to comment about your work experience, please do so in the comment section. But what I would say for me, because I can only speak to my personal experience, the work experience that changed how I see myself, I would say it didn't alter my character, because during work, I never changed who I am. I'm still the same person. But what I would say, I evolved. It made me even more aware of individuals, their tendencies, what they would do versus what they won't do, as well as the difference between trauma bonding during work, because you can literally have a colleague, and you and him or her, you chop it up, you have a good old time, you work and you encourage each other through it, right? And then you more likely become friends and have this camaraderie. But once you leave the organization, which is what happened to me, I realized that a lot of my relationships with my peers, some, not all, because I have a lot of personal camaraderies still, but some of them are trauma bonded, I would say. Some of them were linked to the stressful moments, and that's what brings the trauma bonding of a connection together, where you're like, okay, we're trapped in this ship that's sinking. How can we get out of it? Working together, communicating. Sometimes you may share a life story. Sometimes you may share a commonality. Sometimes you may decide that you want to be more than friends, as far as, saying Merry Christmas, or just developing that kind of relationship. And oftentimes those are the hardest ones to break, because you feel as if, you're losing something. And that was the hardest thing for me, because sometimes walking away from something without even a goodbye is sometimes the easiest thing to do, but it's also the hardest thing to do, because you also feel guilty at the same time. And for me, I would say that that work experience changed how I view a lot of work friendships, in keeping them with the intention of, it's a purposeful relationships. Trauma bonding with personal, friend, or anyone in my orbit is off of the table, because that means that just because you're trauma bonding over work stress, it doesn't mean that we need to take anything. It doesn't mean that we need to take it a step further and start exchanging numbers, having a whole powwow, and doing friend things. But then when it's time to sever that friendship, that's the hardest thing to do at the same time. So I would say it is important to ask ourselves, how do we view our friendships, or what kind of friendship do we want? Do we want it based off of always talking about work stress? If it's talking about business, Are you the one who's pouring more into the other person versus the other person pouring into you? Because at the same time, it's one thing to give someone something monetary. It's one thing to give someone something that is tangible. But it's another thing when our relationship can be one sided in some elements where it's only when you reach out or they reach out or vice versa. So it's important when relationships are built on the foundation where it is understood that sometimes you may not be ready to talk and sometimes you may not be ready to respond to that text. But it's understanding because we all have our own lives because we're all grown individuals. So that's why I would say what workplace experience changed how I see myself is I'm more aware, I'm wiser, but I'm also grateful even more for every single work experience because I'm not gonna lie, every single work experience, Excel, other technical skills that I've learned at my previous place of employment, it taught me a lot, and it taught me a lot of different tools, and even trained me, even leading my own team, coming up with ideas, being mentally independent, technologically, employment wise, other life skills that I'm grateful for. And I think that's the hardest thing is after you break through all of the God, why did I give all my years to this godforsaken place? But once you get over that, once you get over that side of the bridge, you're like, okay, I learned something. I learned what I don't want, but I also learned what I know that I needed. But I also learned that when it comes to management, I'm vetting. Oh, baby, I'm vetting, feeling out vibes, seeing consistencies. Because I've had employers who were consistent, then inconsistent, then showed me who they really were underneath it all. So I'm not settling for less. If I got to eat oodles and noodles, then I'm eating oodles and noodles. But I refuse to put myself in a workplace, a toxic work environment that's going to impact my mental and spirit and my character. Those three tiers, I will never lose to job because they can always replace me physically, but they can't replace whatever I. Because those same individuals that I used to with are also the same individuals that like, wow, she's really gone. Damn, it's those experiences. So I would honestly say that that's what changed in myself. That's what I've noticed, and that's how I evolved. And I would say, and I kind of answered the question too, how have I healed from my last toxic work environment? I would say that I have, is I'm turning it into what this is right now. But I'm also looking at it from the example of I did not waste my time because I grew. And it took me a while to get there. I would say I got there after maybe about 4 or 5 months where I actually appreciated and I also grieved the memories that I made. I also grieved the work that I poured into my area that I worked, and the decline as to where it's gotten. So that was a great process. Ultimately speaking, you want to support individuals who you know and you want to support as much as possible. But it's really hard when you're like, oh my God, I put work into this and look at it now. It's like, lean on me. When Joe Clark came, when he was there, then when he left, then he came back. Joe Clark ain't coming back, baby. Y'all gonna have to fix East Side High, or if it's Titanic, the ship is just going to sink, baby. Just get in a lifeboat and swim. Just keep swimming. Dory can't even save y'all. So what I would honestly say is that I would what healed me is knowing that it wasn't my responsibility, but my responsibility was to myself. I had to untether myself from the concept that I'm a supervisor. I need to make sure that I'm responsible for this and that, this and that. But at the same time, management was not being responsible for my mental health, wasn't making sure that their plans supported both the leaders as well as the associates that they were supposed to lead, but also making sure that the departments made sense and not trying to fix problems after they've happened, but work ahead to make sure that we can prepare for those problems. That is sadly the common denominator for every organization out here. is they try to fix versus prevent. So I would say how I healed is knowing the difference between what I want from what I don't want. And once I became absolute with that, I felt so much better. The acrimonious feelings left, but I would say it made me feel a little bit, a lot more in control of my narrative and how I want to continue this story. But what I would say, which is question number 3, do I overcompensate to prove my worth? I wouldn't say I overcompensated to prove my worth. I would say when I was there at my previous work employment and even now in my current organization that I work with, I would say I went above and beyond because I felt committed. Like it's almost like when you're in a marriage, you feel committed to this role that you're playing, but you also feel as if you need to do your role to the best of your abilities. That's what I felt. I never felt like I had to overcompensate because I was just that good at what I did. I was just that good. And I knew that I knew what I knew. And I also, that's just in my character. I committed to what I did it to the best of my abilities. I made a mistake, apologized, cleaned it up, moved on, made it right again. And I also included the opinions of my own associates in my judgment. So that way I wouldn't, it would create a better landing. So that way, if I ever have to change something, they were ready for it. So I would say partnership is what really helped, not compensating. Because compensating for me is you're trying to fill a void and you're trying to compensate for something that's not working. For me, I wasn't compensating. I threw out what wasn't working. Sometimes my managers didn't agree with me, but hey, it worked in the end. And also reminding my associates that they also have a voice. If something isn't working, speak up because you're working for an organization that should be working for you. And it should make you feel as if the people are really first versus the word people first. And above all else, what boundary did I learn the hard way? Goes back to my first question, setting boundaries with even with the organization that I work with now. If it's a friendship, if it's a camaraderie, I set a boundary. I'm not going to tell you my whole life story. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again because my goal is not to create a trauma bond. My goal is to create a purposeful relationship that is based on respect, that is based on education, that is also based on respect. I'll say that again, but it's also based on purpose because sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes the friends that we may have are temporary, but it's also where we are in that sense. So when we come out of that space, the friends that we gain from that reflects where we are right now, mentally, spiritually, actionally. It reflects that. It's like two different friend groups. The friends that you came with that knew you from childhood, and the friends that you have now that has not only helped you evolve, but they're already evolved themselves. They can't grow down to you. You got to grow up to them. So I would say creating boundaries in my old life or my old ways of doing things was important. It could be block list, or it could be changing a number, or it could be redeciding on what I want and what I don't want. And it can also just be moving on. Moving on is hard. And losing that connection is harder. But I had to do it for my mental health. Sometimes people may not agree with you, but it's not their life. That is not their life that they're living. It's yours. And I would say, how has work shaped my confidence? Work has not shaped my confidence. I had it, but I would say that work enhanced what was already there. It made me feel as if I could survive this, I could survive anything. So I would say it made me even more fearless. I wouldn't say it shaped my confidence in a way where I walked in there timid and shy, like, oh my God, people are looking at me. Oh my God. Okay, prove myself time. No, I knew I had it. I had it because I hustled to get that job. But I would say that it made me even more fearless in my decision making. That even when I stepped away and subsequently resigned, I knew that I can get another job or another career purposeful path that leads into what I'm studying in my MSW at Howard University, because I'm leaning more towards purposeful connections now, not just getting a job just for the sake of money, because I can have the money I can have all of this, but if I'm not happy and if I'm not purposeful, then it's all for naught. So that answers question 5. Question 6 is, what leadership style do I refuse to replicate? That goes back to what I said in question 1 and 2. I refuse to replicate inconsistency. I refuse to replicate micromanaging. I refuse to replicate inhumanity. I also refuse to replicate seeing employees or my peers as numbers and figures instead of human beings with a heart and blood that's pumping in their veins. And I also refuse to transfer my own toxicity into my own workplace. And I also refuse to use unwisdom to make decisions, because a lot of unwisdom decisions were made that resulted in having to let people go, transition, let people go, transition. You have to be a good carpenter measures twice and only cuts once. That's a reminder that my mom always tells me. And because at the end of the day, I refuse to replicate that in the name of Jesus. I refuse to replicate that, because that also creates instability and unwanted transference of what is not working to what you're trying to do. We have to let that go. What are you choosing not to replicate? And lastly, what is one I rarely celebrate? I would say one win that I rarely celebrated back when I was in a toxic work environment was my ability to lead. I never gave myself a pat on the back. My employees gave me a pat on the back. Some of my peers, even though we're not talking, so to speak, they even gave me a pat on the backs. Like and even management marveled on how I could do this, and even upper levels noticed. So I would say telling myself, you did that, girl. Telling myself all these affirmations, I rarely did that. So now this Aisha, this version of Aisha is doing all of that and then some. Devotionals, spirituals, whatever. God himself is telling me I am focusing on that, because my goal is not to replicate what I used to have, but to enhance what God has already given me. And my goal is to abide by that same way with this channel. A trauma bonded, this not trauma dumping. This is a testimony of where my mind was. And I hope that questions 1 through 7 are questions that you're able to answer for yourself, and also set yourself free from the toxicity and to bring things crystal clear, which is the most important thing. But the bonus segment questions are going to be saved for another episode, because we're going to be talking about what am I carrying into this workplace that didn't start here. Because most of the times, sometimes the workplaces are what it is, but it's not as bad. And sometimes we carry our own baggage to something new. We're going to talk about that next week, because I had to detox my baggage so that way I didn't bring it into this new organization and this new path. And will I tell you the organization that I work for? I will not, because it was a public platform, and for the sake of the confidentiality of the clients that I service, I'm not going to go broadcasting, if you feel me. So that's going to remain the organization. It's handled. But the most important thing I want you all to know is that support really exists. Like, I didn't just get here. I have my family to thank for that, but I also have God to thank for that above all else, because with his strength and faith to just leave without getting a full confirmation of a new job, that was hard. That was honestly the hardest thing that I've ever done. It was very stressful too. And I can't thank God enough for where I am right now in my life. And almost there to graduate. So I'm in my last term at Howard University for my MSW. And then I'm planning in August, God willing, to start studying for the LMSW so I can be licensed. I can't call myself a social worker until I'm licensed. So yeah, honey, we're getting that degree and the licensure, so I can also know what I speak on other licensed topics, but at the same time, I can still share what I know through life and also through my own personal experiences as an intern clinically. So, what I would say is more to come, more to come. But most importantly speaking, support still exists, even in moments like this. So, take whatever you can from this video and be kind with yourself today. Operate in grace because it's not easy and you're trying, and I see your efforts. I may not be able to see you, but you see me and I see you through the screen. So I do hope that you all are able to take care of yourselves and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you don't miss any videos. Hit that notification bell because we are going to be dropping videos daily, weekly, back to back, back to back. We're going to be ramping it up even more because we have more family members. So we got to get more soil. We got to get more seeds. We're going to be planting some more. So, and in the future, you are going to see us plant in real time because gardening is something that my mom and I really enjoy. So we're really going to be getting our hands dirty. So more to come on that. But most importantly, be gentle with yourself. And I'm your host, Aisha Ensa. And thank you so much for watching the Career Tuesday, a segment created under the Grounded Bag podcast. Please go ahead and see my other Career Tuesday videos under the Career Tuesday playlist on my YouTube channel. And I also have other playlists like the Body Wisdom, the Educational Still Becoming, the Break Room, as well as Rooted with Rooted with Aisha's channel, but I also have Rooted in Self-Care as a playlist, and I also have the Grounded Bag podcast general playlist in which I will be publishing my audio podcast to that platform. So stay tuned for all of that. More work for me, but it's a purposeful experience. So it's not work, it's my life. So be kind to your mind, keep choosing yourself one moment at a time. And the most important thing for you to do right now is to take care of you. So y'all don't got to leave, but you got to get up out of here. See you all next Tuesday, same time, same place. And I want to thank you so much for checking in with me as I check in with you. See y'all next week.